prep for Thanksgiving at Whole Foods Market. Save now on no antibiotics ever frozen whole turkey, just $1.49 a pound with Prime. Sales on brie and select seafood appetizers help get things started. For sides, go with wallet-happy favorites from 365 by Whole Foods Market. And finish with decadent desserts from the bakery. Or get your whole spread catered. Just order early. Get Thanksgiving ready at Whole Foods Market. Terms apply.
Ampire.
Hey, babies. Hey, babies. What a day, babies. Hi, everyone. Where's Ted on this today? I wonder where he is on all of this. He was Captain Mar-a-Lago for a while, and then he was Captain Democrats for a while. So I'm sure he'll shift with the wind, today, as everybody kind of has to, I'm not just saying him. Everybody's got to shift with the wind today, guys.
I'm not going to accuse Ted of anything, but I think Ted's a lot, kind of like a lot of the other people. He might have publicly said he leaned one way, but when you get behind that booth, you vote a different way. That's kind of how I'm leaning.
You get to go into the station today. Boy, they must be throwing a party like it's 2016, baby. Wow.
No comment
over there.
No comment.
I'll take Larry always asks me to come on his show, so I'll take his pulse on Friday. Anyway, as I was rooting for the other side. I'm actually really independent, but I was rooting for the other side just because I like people and I don't like divisive rhetoric, really. And that's a turnoff for me, but apparently it wasn't a turnoff for everybody else. So what's next? No one knows. No one knows. And here's where I've landed on one. I woke up stable in this thought. The electorate overwhelmingly voted for it. So I'm not going to sit there and complain about it. And it's not the direction I wanted to go for a lot of reasons. I'm not sure that I loved everything that the Democrats were saying, but I'm someone who, as a dad, kind of look at this and go, how do you explain this to your children that these are the qualities of a person who holds the highest office in our land? They're not stupid. They know the things that he's done. And many of them should have been disqualifying for a lot of things, but they weren't for this. And that's hard as to deliver a message and a lesson to people. But this is what our country chose. So I'm not going to sit here and put on the pink hat this time and go storm the Capitol or cry about it. This is what they wanted. I am a little concerned about the things that they've promised they are going to do. Let's see if they follow through with the promises of the things that they're going to do. Not all of them, but some of them. And I'm going to go with, in 4 years, we'll still be here. And I hope that that's the case. So all the doomsayers of saying we're going to become a Russian state or go to World War III or, just disappear or we're going to decide who Americans are and who aren't. I don't believe all of that. I think we'll still be here in 4 years. It's just going to be rocky. And, I think we've learned with this guy, if you shake the gorilla cage, he might do something nuts. So I think it's best served, considering how many people voted for him, not to shake the gorilla cage that much, really, honestly, for the next few years.
No, 100%. I woke up this morning and was like, we survived the first 4 years of it, took a 4-year hiatus. It'll be another 4 years of it. And it is what it is. Yeah. And I think you and I have always landed on this too. Ultimately, he's the president, but it doesn't mean he affects our day-to-day lives. And if it does get to that point, you do what you have to do in terms of voting or activating or whatever you need to do. And that's where I've landed after, the last 3 election cycles is where I've landed on that.
Yeah, they, this is really on the Democratic Party who it's just when people look back on it and they paint the picture of this is the profile of the person who won twice, right? And you're going to say he's a felon, he's a misogynist, he might be a racist. In fact, I'm not even sure that that's arguable at this point. He's committed fraud on many different levels. And oh, by the way, he instituted some of the worst policies that this country inarguably ever had over the first 4 years that he had. And then he got elected again. There's going to be, I would hope, at some point, a collective, what was everybody thinking? Because I'll go back to, I'm really independent and I'm very open to ideas that the Republican Party have. It's just who vocalizes them and who's in office is what matters to me. And that's why I think I'm surprised today. Surprised and not surprised, honestly. The way, like, obviously, the second the Washington Post refused to do the endorsement thing, I went, oh boy, like, they're aware. Like, they're aware because they have, they've got really, really strong polling. They're aware that it's a distinct possibility that he's going to win. And, for whatever reasons, and I don't want to get into it, but for whatever reasons, they decided not to do it, probably for retribution reasons. And at that point, I think we both were sitting there going, uh-oh, like listen, I can read I know when somebody's on the hot seat, guys. Right? And the second I saw that one, I went, uh-oh, like this is probably closer than anybody would have ever really imagined. There are a few groups that I do question openly, like women, like you kind of, if you voted for them, and a lot of you did, then you have to be okay with what's about to happen, when it comes to rights. For the minority voters, like, okay, let's see, because he's said a couple of different things about the ways you're going to be treated. So let's see what happens. And I'm just going to sit back and go, you know what? We did survive the first 4 years. I was surprised in 2016. I'm not actually surprised this year. I knew it would be close. And I just have to have belief that we have the best country in the world. And no matter who the actual literal leader is, we'll get through it and we'll move on. And assuming they don't change the rules about that we have kings now or dictators, then we will have a different president because he can't run it. At least currently by the rules, he can't run again. So I'm going to assume that he won't, right?
Right. I mean,
that one in place. Yeah.
Well, I mean, what he said out loud is he would not, keep that in place. He's joked about that. I don't know how serious he would be, but now that they're in control of everything, we don't really know. This was part of everything that moved forward is we don't know, what's actually going to be done. Back to your point too, though, like he said a lot of things the first time around that he didn't do, know? And so here the second time around, let's see what happens. Like that wall on Mexico didn't really ever happen, right? Like, and that's what he campaigned on. Like Jerry Jones
said he was all in. He wasn't really all in. He does a lot of interviews. He says a lot of things. Every once in a while he goes, I don't have the time to jack with you, or says the honest part is, do you know what BS is? Yeah. And this guy is, an all-time BS artist, like and that is a trait, and it's a valuable one in this case. So, what does he mean when he says these things? We're going to find out. Like that's the truth of it. I think the bigger part of it that like I'm actually worried about is who does he associate with? Who does he put in positions of real power? Does he do some of the things that they've insinuated they would do, which is literally gut the government, destroy the Department of Education, get rid of climate change policies, like all that type of stuff actually like. But this is what we voted for. So you're going to have to live with the results, and we'll just have to see what it is. And guys, we're still 7-2. So you know what? It's like, so for me, it's like any other year, it'd be a tough pill to swallow here in Washington, but things are going so well that I'm going to stick to sports, and I'm going to look at the bright side of all of this and go, you know what? My team did something yesterday they haven't done in a very, 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 very long time, which was openly admit, I don't care what, the public sentiment or history says. We can actually win right now. So we're going to do something that is actually out of character for what this group has done with anything at any point in time. And obviously, I'm glad we did it because I get to focus on that today. I had a big smile on my face the whole night while I was watching Virginia be neck and neck between Harris and Trump last night, which that one was really, I'm just a touch shocked because I've been to Arlington and Fairfax County and I didn't see that one coming. That's for sure.
I did this on my show yesterday just to bridge the gap here. The 4 most chaotic modern years in Washington were Trump 2016 to 2020, right? Like that's not arguable. I think that's a fact, right? Chaotic wise, day to day was crazy.
Yes.
I don't know. In that time frame, the Nats, the Caps, and the Mystics all won a championship. And I was like, maybe if he wins again, Commanders, come on down. Like maybe this is the denominator. We need a chaotic president for everyone to focus on sports here or something. So yeah, that's
I might as well be nice because when we win a Super Bowl, I am going to go to the White House.
That's right.
So I might as well be nice about this. And I like McDonald's. I'll eat the McDonald's. I'm all right with it. Let's go.
That's right. Exactly.
I'll be like, can I see the Sharpie you used to draw the hurricane on Florida? Because I'd like to see that one.
That's a throwback. That's 50 million years ago. That's 50 million news cycles ago.
I want to see the Hall of Fame room in the White House from his first term. All the things that could be up there. Like, do you have on loop the time when he said everyone should use bleach to get rid of COVID? Because I'd like to watch that video again. Can we check? Can I get the cutaway look on Fauci's face, which was like the real life, The Office in a real literal emergency where he's John Krasinski looking at the camera being like, I don't know what's going on here, while Michael Scott's up there telling everybody to kill themselves with bleach.
Oh man.
Good times, guys. Can't wait to do a redo of that. And now he's older. I can't wait. What's next? What's next?
That's right. Like I said, 3 championships while he was in office, though. So maybe
if I told you over the next 4 years, at some point he will throw poop at something, would you believe me? Because I would believe you. That's not unbelievable. It's not totally unbelievable.
You almost got a spit take on camera.
Almost.
You almost got me.
All right. Let's get into it. Well. So I feel very proud of myself. Everybody laughed at me 3-4 weeks ago when I said, there's something, I've watched this too long. There's something really special going on here. I'll hear out everybody on that, this is ahead of schedule and it's not, typical. And I don't know how long this can actually last. And this is a really, really great start, but they're just kind of Houston and maybe they'll get to double-digit wins. And that's really cool. But we need to look ahead to a sustainable future. And I was the one who hit the brakes on it and went, I don't want to talk about next year. This year's in play big time. They've only reinforced it over and over and over and over. And yesterday they did something to signal to everybody that they believe they can win right now, because the deal that they got for Marshon Lattimore with the Saints was, I don't know whether overpayment would be the way that I would put it, but they certainly paid a premium if you look at all the prices that were paid for anybody of real value. I'll get to some of the other trades in a minute. But clearly there was competition to get Lattimore, and they did pay a hefty price. And this is what's different about everything they've done. All along, I've been looking at this going, they've been extremely disciplined about everything they've done. They don't trade a lot of their assets. If they do, it's very risk averse. The deals that they've signed with people have been not long-term, very risk averse, no big money going to anybody from the outside coming in. The only person they've paid is Cosme, but he's been in the building and they know what he is. They haven't done anything like that. But the way that this season kind of went along, I've kind of felt like I know what I'm looking at. They can win right now. The door is wide open. This is, now that Dak's on IR, by the time they get to Dallas in a couple of weeks, they're playing Philly and Houston. They could be 3-7 by the time that they play them. Maybe they won't be, but they could be. That's very possible outcome, which means we're literally in a 2-team race with 2 games against them and 2 games against the team that you have to beat to win the division. It's on. It is beyond on. Their offense has proven over and over and over that they can score on anybody. They can score at will. They're a top 5 scoring offense. And the only way that they were going to really take a run was to improve the defense at the position they improved it at. I am all for this. This may have been a touch uncomfortable for them, but I appreciate the acknowledgement of, you know what? F it. We have a real shot here. Let's not pretend that we don't. Let's not pretend that we don't have a real deficiency on this defense. It was something we're going to have to fix either way, whether it's in the offseason, the draft, maybe both. I've been arguing they need 2 corners. They need a number 1 corner and another corner. This was going to be addressed no matter what at some point in time. Do it now when you have a chance to win. The door is so wide open. So I was, I'm sure some people are going to argue about the price paid. I'll hear that part out because it does feel in this marketplace, a premium was paid for him, but they needed this to give themselves a shot down the stretch. So I think it's worth it.
This is the exact trade, though, that I was banging the drum for pretty much since week 2, which was he's 28. He has 2 years left on his deal. You and I know how this works. The agent's going to approach them and say, this is not guaranteed. Let's work on a deal. I look at it yesterday and go, they're going to get a corner for 4 years. like this isn't a rental deal. As long as it's a fit and he works with this defense, that he's actually going to be a corner for a couple of years here, bare minimum. And that's the trade that I wanted them to make. And not to mention, we haven't even talked about, yes, were the draft picks a little steep? Sure, but it was all maneuvered draft picks anyways, right?
That's right.
It was the
this
six
is like the Howie stuff. Howie's been doing this forever too up in Philadelphia, where he acquires all these picks, then he makes a deal, and you look at the deal and you're like, boy, that was an interesting payment, but it's all pocket change that he's had from other deals that he's made all along.
Right. Like this essentially turned into a fourth. Like really, it really straight up was a fourth for Marshon and a fifth back. I'll take that every single day, considering what he got in all these other trades. And once again, I think we talked about this like a month ago. The fact that he netted a third for Dotson, I know he gave a little bit up, but got that third back. Looking back in retrospect is amazing. I mean, considering what the wide receiver market was, the fact that Dallas overpaid, which they did for Mingo yesterday.
Oh, I'll get to that. We'll get to that one.
But I'm saying like they got even more for Dotson, who has like 11 catches on the year. You know, the fact is Peters is willing and dealing. And here's the most important part that I felt about the trade deadline yesterday. The first, the second, and they still have a third round pick. Those are the picks that if you nail them, they're not only good players, but they're on your roster. They've kept their top three picks. I can't be mad at this. And not to mention, like I said, they're going to extend Lattimore if he's a fit. So that addresses your cornerback issue, not just this year, but also next year.
Yeah, I mean, with 2 years left on the deal, non-guaranteed, they're actually under no pressure to do so either.
Sure.
You know, the biggest hanging part of this is we brought him in now because we think we can win now. He recently didn't play with a hamstring injury. It is the second time this year that he's had a hamstring injury. I'm going to go with on the, you know, why would they do this if they thought he couldn't play? Like, obviously they think he can. That's the risky part of this to me, because if he, you know, pulls his hamstring, can't play down the stretch, you're going to look at this as, boy, that was a bet that went bad on them. And it'd be the first one that really went bad. Think about all of these different veterans that they've brought in here. Zach Ertz, complete hit. Dante Fowler, beyond complete hit. Dorrance Armstrong was really coming on before he had his rib injury. We'll see now that once he gets back into like probably feeling healthy again, which hopefully will happen soon, maybe we'll start to see his impact again. Austin Eckler, wild hit, like beyond wild hit, over and over and over. They've made a lot of small bets on veteran players who know what they're doing, and in some cases are Hall of Fame players like Zach Ertz, and Eckler might be, considering how many touchdowns he scored in his career, is a borderline Hall of Fame player. But we were told that these were people that were kind of done. All of these little mini bets have turned into jackpots for them, which is a big part of the story about why they're here. This is an interesting one because he comes in what should be kind of prime of his career. He's only in his late 20s. He's been a 4-time Pro Bowler. The completion percentage against him is outrageous. I mean, he's a lockdown corner, but if he's hurt, it defeats the purpose of getting him now. Maybe he's fine next year, but that's not why they did this today. They did this because they want to win right now. So that's the one part of this that, I've heard a lot of people say, like, not unlike Devontae Adams, his hamstring's going to be feeling real good today. But until I see it and know it, I don't know. He didn't play recently. They're playing 2 games in 4 days. So they might have acquired a guy, if he's not ready to go, who isn't going to play, until week 12 for them. So, that's the one part of this that I need some answers to over the next couple of days.
Yeah, like I saw some of the people say that it was like Adams, like he'll be back. But yeah, I'm with you too.
You don't know that.
Right, exactly. Until we see him on an injury report that he was a full participant, and we also have seen with this front office and this coaching staff, they haven't hesitated to let guys rest either. Like, it wouldn't shock me if they said, rest the next 5 days and we'll get you, 3 games from now, because they're about to play 2 games in 5 days. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if they said, let's make sure you're good to go. Let's make sure that you are good to go for the stretch run. That's the way that they've handled injuries. I'm with you too. Like, they haven't really forced guys to play hurt. Nope. I don't think they would do it with him either. So that's the other thing here. I'm with you. I'm waiting to see when he's on the practice field.
He gets here yesterday. They're playing Sunday. Like, not that I'm worried about throwing him out there, but, everybody's scheme's a little bit different. That's George Pickens. Like, it's not a nobody, this week that they're playing. So let's see how they handle it. I'll be very interested to see what they do there. They didn't move anybody. The only person that clearly was kind of up was Emmanuel Forbes. And in light of this acquisition, it doesn't read well for him in the future. And there is one other thing, but they didn't move him probably because they didn't get any asset worthwhile. And in that case, why would you, let's get through the season. Let's keep depth. Let's see what happens at the end of the year and we'll figure that out. I did see a lot of people say that Sandra still goes back to the slot automatically here. I'm going to go not so fast on that one too. I want to see how this plays out. Like clearly when Lattimore's healthy, and hopefully that's sooner rather than later, and hopefully that's Sunday or at worst Thursday with AJ Brown, he's their number one corner. Like that's unquestioned. I mean, so he's on the outside. The other outside has been Sandra still, and Noah Igbenogany's done a very good job on the inside. I'm not automatically believing that Sandra still, even though they've vocally said we want him back in the slot, that's his best position. I'm not automatically believing that that happens here. So I'm open-minded to he stays on the outside and Igbenogany stays on the inside, but I do want to hear from Dan Quinn and Joe Witt about that one as well. These guys have over and over said, we're going to go week to week. We're going to play the guys we best think are in each position. We don't really care what you think about snap counts and all that stuff. And so under that, I don't know, actually. Like, will Sandra still now stay on the outside and Benjamin St. Juste play less snaps? Maybe. I think that's a distinct possibility here.
Yeah, I'm with you too. Like, I've also been a proponent of like this defense has been getting very good, not good, but much better over the last 6 weeks. And that's where I've landed too of like, maybe they'll move some of these guys around, keep some of these guys fresher. Cause I'm with you. I don't think you fix this overnight. I don't think just moving him back inside all of a sudden fixes everything you need to. Like, he's also a rookie as well. Let's see how he handles that move or if they just leave him there too.
I am just overall, I'm so happy they're acknowledging that this year still is totally in play and that they're not looking at it from the, wow, this is really great. It's setting up for the future. What a bright future we have. Future's now. And I appreciate that they said, you know what, let's take a chance. Like, let's go after, let's get the one thing that we need very badly to give us a shot to have a run this year. And, like they write movies about this stuff. They go on and win. I mean, it's going to be insane. So I'm excited about it.
There's one thing I will say is Peters has not had many misses since he's gotten here, but I do think it's worth acknowledging that Stephon Gilmore was a free agent all the way until week 1, essentially. And the Vikings signed him, the week before the season started. That's the only thing I look at as like a slight blemish on Peters is even we were kind of saying there's a veteran corner out there that used to be defensive player of the year that is an upgrade on this roster. And I get it. Like, they wanted to see how the season played out, but I do look at that one and go, maybe you didn't have to trade for Lattimore if you signed that guy. And the Vikings defense is very good. Like, I don't know. I'm just saying. He did
play for Quinn and Witt though. And the fact that they didn't go sign him.
That's fair.
Unspoken.
Fair. Sure.
This is how we feel. They probably think he's on the back end of his career is probably what it is. This guy, when healthy, is still a prime number one clear Pro Bowl caliber corner when healthy. Yeah. It is the first real big risk that they've taken. I think it's the first real true one because all these other signings, while they've all worked out, they were all low risk, all of them. Jeremy Chin's another one. Like, he's on a 1-year deal. Like, it looks great now, but if it didn't, they were, Armstrong wasn't given a ton of money. Fowler's on a 1-year deal. Ertz was on a 1-year deal. Eckler's on a 2-year deal, but an extremely affordable 2-year deal. Like, none of the things that they did were like overly risky. This is the first one that has any kind of real risk attached because they did give up real assets and they are paying him real money. Albeit if it for some reason goes bust, which I can't envision, but if it does, they don't owe him anything beyond this year. Like, I don't think it's going to go that way, but it's to me, it's the risk worth taking. This team has a special quality. Their record has put them in a position to make a run. They have a massive deficiency on the team, so they overpaid and addressed it. Great. Let's go. All right, let me take a quick break. Very much the show ESPN 630 Sports Capital.
Blinds.com is kicking off the savings early with Black Friday mega deals all month long. A Blinds.com design expert can help you make the perfect selection on your schedule. We can even handle everything from measure to your whole home installed for just one low cost. With over 25 million windows covered, Blinds.com is the #1 online retailer of custom window coverings. Get up to 45% off site-wide, plus premium doorbusters and a free professional measure. Now at Blinds.com. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Time to move? Skip the hassles of selling during the holiday season and sell your home directly to Opendoor. Request an all-cash offer in minutes, close, and get paid in days. You can even pick your close date so you can move after New Year's. Start your move at Opendoor.com or download the Opendoor app. Opendoor is represented by Opendoor Brokerage Inc., license 02061130 in California, and Opendoor Brokerage LLC in its other markets. Terms and conditions apply.
All right, welcome back. Let me go through just a couple of the other trades at the deadline, which is Mingo to Big Dingo. So
boo, boo on that Chiron.
That's good. So it is good. Mingo to Big Dingo. That's pretty good. The New York Post isn't hiring me anytime soon, but it's pretty good. They gave up a 4th-round pick for him.
4th-round pick, 1 catch the last 4 weeks, I think.
So we just played Carolina, obviously. And I, talk to people, as I get ready for games, I talk to people who are in and around that team. And their reaction to me about him and why he wasn't playing very much was not great. I won't reveal too much about what they said, but it wasn't great. So good luck with that. Let me see. You got a 6th-round pick for Amari Cooper, but you traded a 4th-round pick for him. Okay. This is another one. It's piling up on old Jair, where even one like this, where you just go, really? You guys are just kind of not with it with what the market is, where value is. You just feel off in everything they do. Just feels really off. Their contract negotiations are off, the decisions they're making. And then this one, if he turns out to be really good, then they'll be right about it. But if he just remains really average, it's just another in a long line of odd decisions they've made over the last few years.
This is the one that we see this in the NHL a lot, where sometimes a team will just panic trade to make a trade. This is what this screamed to me yesterday. And I was like, what? Because when I saw the trade, I went, okay, what is this going to be? A 7th-round flip, try to get a guy in. And when I saw it was a legitimate draft pick, I was like, Jair, you're losing it, man. I don't know.
Yeah, man.
I don't know what is going on there. And I'm sure Carolina was like, you want him for that? Yeah, let's do it. I think they thought they were getting punked probably. This is, I don't know what to say anymore about Jair. This is bad. And we didn't even get to it. Did you see the Ezekiel Elliott stuff from Sunday too?
So I saw he didn't play and was kept back for disciplinary reasons, but I actually don't know why. Do you know why?
Yeah, he apparently all year long has been missing meetings. And so the last straw was he missed the Friday meeting. It wasn't.
He begged to go back there.
And by the way, it was the fact that he was late for some meetings, but now he was missing them. He missed the Friday meeting. And they were like, we can't play you on Sunday if you're missing the Friday meetings. So yeah, it's crazy over there now. It's crazy.
I'm assuming Philadelphia is going to beat them this week. So that kind of buries them and then sets up for, regardless of how Washington does against Pittsburgh, what's going to be a massive Thursday game, which is absolutely massive Thursday game for the NFC East. Ezekiel Elliott is not showing up to meetings. He all but begged to go back to Dallas.
Right. And they listen.
He's clearly not understanding what all the rest of us understand, is that he's not the same player he used to be, and really hasn't been for 4 years.
No, he wasn't the same player when he left Dallas.
That's right.
That's what's crazy is did you think he got better in these last 4 years?
No.
That's where I'm kind of lost here. And
there's no going back on him.
No. And what's funny is they decided to sign him and not sign Henry. That was their oh, we're going to save some money by signing this guy instead of that guy. It hasn't been a percentage of what Henry has been for the Baltimore.
Zadarius Smith did go to Detroit. That's going to help them overcome the Aiden Hutchinson injury. He was another one that I was kind of looking at over the last couple of weeks, where once Cleveland's season went completely sideways, they're not going to re-sign him to anything. He's become a mercenary around the league. He's a very good player. And I looked at him and I went, we got 3 7th-round picks. Why not? Like, we could use all the help we could get, especially on the defensive line now that the injuries are starting to pile up a little bit. Dortch Armstrong's been in and out of the lineup. Fedarian Mathis got injured. I think he's okay. John Allen's out for the year. I was kind of like, let's take a little look at that one, but I knew there would be, competition for him because this is a classic rental. It's not going to cost very much. And the Lions, who definitively have Super Bowl aspirations, I think it was the right thing for them to do. So it was a good move for them.
Some of these trades, I also wonder as well, kind of pondered this yesterday after the deadline passed. Like, I think it actually matters with Lattimore too. Like, if some of these teams were getting the same deal, did they leave it up to the player? Because this one to me kind of screams,
maybe.
I bet you the Browns were getting multiple offers that were probably very similar and might have said to Smith, which one do you want to go to? And he's like, give me this to the NFC Super Bowl, favorite. So that's one thing I'm wondering. And I'm guessing that's the same because I saw that price and I was like, man, that's not a lot to get some really good edge help, for the stretch run.
And Tre'Davious White ended up with Baltimore, right? So they got help at corner. I think they need it more so as insurance more than anything because Humphrey's gone in and out of the lineup. The other side hasn't been as solid. Not unlike Washington, it is a weakness over there, but some of it is health and attrition. So I think that one is just an insurance policy, and it's the right thing to do for a team like Baltimore that I also think should and does have Super Bowl aspirations this year.
No, and I look at Baltimore too. They're trying to match, what the other NFC contenders have done too. The Chiefs made a trade for Hopkins, so they got a wide receiver. The Bills and the Jets both made moves for wide receiver, so they got their wide receiver. Then they trade for a cornerback yesterday. Like they're trying to match not only in the AFC, they're trying to match what the Steelers did too. Like the Steelers loaded up a little bit yesterday as well. So good on the Ravens for actually hanging with some of these other teams that were making some moves because I think in years past they were not interested in doing that.
All right, let me shift gears for a minute. I want to talk about 2 stories that obviously are major headlines in sports, and I think kind of fall in a similar category of can't we all just get along? One, the Embiid suspension, which this is a really weird year that's going on with him. He walks into the season saying, I'm not going to play back-to-back games. And then, when you do something like that, you open yourself up to a massive amount of criticism. One, and we've talked about this a lot, like, I understand load management. I get it. I know we're in a modern space, and I get the attrition on these guys' bodies. And I also understand, like, Philadelphia season isn't told in November. It's told in the spring when either he's going to win a championship or not. And him getting through, and being healthy at those points, it just hasn't kind of happened for him. And so I understand where he's coming from. I also, like every fan of sports, goes, I can't believe you would walk in here and tell me that you're not going to play in the second of a back-to-back. So why would I go buy a 76ers ticket? Because, like, I'm actually coming to see you. Like, I don't go to the Broadway play to see the understudy. I go to see you. And if you're not going to play, or you're telling me outright you're not going to play, like, I'm sorry. Like, I hear you that, like, it's a physical toll playing the game, but give me a break, man. Like, I'm sorry, it's your job. Figure out how to do it. This is what you signed up for. Your union said you're going to play 82 games a year. I understand real injuries you can't play, but just to like, I'm not going to play because I'm not going to play, that doesn't fly for the customer, and the NBA has to do something about it. So then the Philadelphia Inquirer sends out a columnist, and he writes a piece. And the piece that he writes is basically in this premise of, how can you be a role model to people you say matter to you in your life when you won't even show up for work on certain days? And then he mentions that he had a brother who died, and he mentioned another family member, and he likened it to, since these people are so important in your memory, how could you then do this? Which in defense of Embiid, I thought was way off base by this writer to do that. Like, I agree with Embiid. That's really wrong. Like, you do not go after, like, you do not understand the personal feelings of someone who lost family members and attribute it to their job or their sport or their work ethic or their And in some cases, like I think if there was an allusion to that he's out of shape as well. And so I thought that this column, I didn't read it at the time, but after we heard what happened with him in the locker room, I did. And I did feel like it deserved major pushback. You can't do what Embiid did, right? And they had to suspend him because you can't push over a media member. But I don't think he's totally wrong for being very upset about that column. Some of it is of his own making, though, by coming out and saying, I am not going to fulfill the duties of my job on a night-to-night basis, even though I'm making extraordinary amounts of money. And the reason why I'm making the money is because the fans come to see me play these games. There's a lot of wrongs here, a lot of them. Some of it he made his own bed. Some of it he didn't deserve at all, like the assertions about his family. And then some of it in his reaction isn't good. So I don't know that there's a right or wrong here. I do know that this is all wrong at the same time.
I'll work backwards here. With the column, as distasteful and I would say disrespectful as it was toward Embiid, you're a pro athlete. You cannot get into a physical altercation, let alone when...
I agree, but that was really off. Like,
I agree.
He deserved a lot of... My point is he deserves a lot of criticism for the things that he's done and said, but that criticism goes way too far.
I 100% agree. And there's just different ways to go about it. You know, like being physical with somebody. I know we're living in the age now of F around and find out these days, but you just cannot do that. You're a former MVP. You're not going to get into it. I think you could verbally go after him, and I think you could verbally go after him in front of his peers. I think that would have been a better way to go about it, and tell him, I'm never talking to you again. I have no obligation to talk to you again. Keep your family out of your mouth. Have a good day, whatever. But you can't get physical. You know how this works. It's 2020. It's 2024, playa. You can't put your hands on somebody else. That's number one. I agree, though. Like, he overstepped the line, this columnist. And 100%. So something had to be said, but you can't put your hands on someone else.
Yeah.
To Embiid doing the whole I'm not playing back-to-backs thing. This is a really bad look, not only for him, but also what happened over the summer. He played in the Olympics. And remember, we were all kind of like, oh, like, I can't believe he's actually over there. I can't believe he's playing these types of minutes. Like, I thought the 76ers would have put the kibosh on that to say, we'd love for you to play for Team USA, but we kind of need you if we're going to have a chance to win a championship. I look back at the summer and go, what were the 76ers thinking? Because I wouldn't have let him play. Like, seriously.
I want our guys to play in the Olympics. Like, I want our best players to go. He's one of them. But it also should not come at the cost of, well, I just don't feel like playing this Pelicans game tonight because I'm tired.
Agree.
You know, like of all the complaints I have about LeBron, he actually doesn't do this.
Well, and so that's
a lot of things about LeBron James. The guy's 40 years old. He's played 1 million games. He doesn't do this. I appreciate how much he respects the professionalism of the job.
I've told you this over the last 3 years with LeBron. He plays less minutes, but when he's playing, he plays as hard as anyone on the court. And you look at guys like LeBron and Steph and the rest of that Team USA roster, they don't get the injuries that Embiid gets, where Embiid gets a hamstring or a core injury or whatever, and all of a sudden he's nursing it the entire year. Those guys, some of them, like Steph, has had season-ending injuries, but he doesn't get those nagging ones. And that's why I think you trust a guy like that to go over to the Olympics and not, get hurt like that. And that's where I kind of landed on this was, this guy's injury prone and you let him play over in France. Now it's coming back to bite you for the season.
The other one I want to address that happened over the weekend and saw an apology was from Jason Kelce, who, while I don't remember where he was, but he was somewhere and some idiot says something terrible to him while filming him, right, with his phone. And Kelce snaps, turns around, grabs the phone, smashes it, and then you can hear him say back the things that he shouldn't have said. Kelce then apologized on ESPN, which I was surprised that's where he did. It was the first place to do it. I assume he's going to address it more on his podcast, or maybe has. I don't listen to it, but I'm sure he has or will, I'm sure. And he apologized, and his apology was, I shouldn't have greeted hate with hate, is what he said. And I appreciate that. I also think that this guy got what he deserved, and I will defend Jason Kelce. And I am also tired of people who think they have the right to walk up to somebody with a phone, say something utterly ridiculous to them, just to get a response from them for the purpose of posting that response for whatever purpose that serves for them, whether it's to try to get likes or influence or clicks or just for their own jollies, that you think you can go up to somebody and say something as obtuse as this guy did to him and not have a reaction. And this is, to me, it's like so many people my age looked at that and went, you people aren't in reality anymore. Because when anyone ever instigated like that, when there were no phones and no internet, they got punched. Like we used to call this picking a fight. Nowadays, it's like, oh, you can't do that to the guy who's picking a fight. He picked the fight with the wrong guy. I have absolutely zero issue with Jason Kelce turning around, grabbing that guy's phone, smashing it, and then looking at him going, you messed around with the wrong person. What he said back, I appreciate he apologized for. But I take no issue with his response, even if you're supposed to show restraint because you're the guy that's supposed to not do it. I'm glad he did what he did, because I'm over it too, with people walking up to people with their phones thinking it's okay to say something terrible to them to their face just to get a reaction out of them.
Yeah, like I think this is one of the ones where the internet was kind of behind Kelce of like, how do you disagree with what he did? This goes back to the Embiid thing too. Embiid physically put his hands on somebody and had a lot of time in between to think about whatever that interaction was going to be, and it still was physical, right? Whereas Kelce, in the moment, loses his mind a little bit. We've all lost our mind at times, at one point or another, and he smashes the dude's phone. That's the actual version of F around and find out. What I hate is this just goes back to the modern age of we cannot have nice things anymore. Here's a player that has been very accessible, like very good for growing the game as a personality. In all honesty, he's one of those dudes that you see like, I'd like to have a beer with that guy. And then you get somebody trying to stir the pot the wrong way and he snaps. All this does to me is go, great. Jason Kelce's going to have a security detail now. Yes. An offense, one of the best center maybe of all time now has to have security with him when he goes to a football game. That sucks. I'm sorry.
It's stupid. I mean, it's just like, we end where we began. Like, will being kind or empathetic or respectful ever be in again? And off of what happened last night, it's hard to believe it in the short term, because America voted for the opposite of it. Just the literal opposite of that. They voted for it. And I respect the outcome. I don't love that outcome for those reasons. Like, I like people. I wouldn't do what that guy did to Jason Kelce. That's just so off-putting to me. Yeah. You know, when I do a show here, I don't do it based in hate of something. Like just it'll correct itself, because it always does. Everything's in for very many reasons. It's the wrong show to try to do political science here to figure out why the electorate did what they did. Maybe the guys down the hall can figure that part out. I have some thoughts and reasoning, but I'm going to stick to, guys, we're 7-2, okay? And I'm just gonna go with that today, because that actually makes me feel good. All right, see y'all tomorrow. Pray about the show. He's at 6:30 Sports Capital.
This episode is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first, like you know to check the date of the big game first before you accidentally buy tickets on your 20th wedding anniversary and have to spend the next 20 years of your marriage making up for it. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
So, you want to be a marketer. It's easy. You just have to score a ton of leads and figure out a way to turn them all into customers. Plus, manage a dozen channels, write a million blogs, and launch 100 campaigns all at once. When that's done, simply make your socials go viral and bring in record profits. No sweat. Okay, fine. It's a lot of sweat. But with HubSpot's AI-powered marketing tools, launching benchmark-breaking campaigns is easier than ever. Get started at HubSpot.com/marketers.
Let's welcome in the head coach of the Washington Spirit, Jonah Heraldez, as we get set for the playoffs that begin this weekend at Audi Field. It's the Spirit against Bay FC. Hey, Coach, how are you today?
Hello, morning.
So your first match as the head coach of the team was, right before the Olympic break against Bay FC. So I guess you have to go back a little bit, but you have some experience going up against them.
Yes, I think so. I got personally a little more experience in terms of the league, especially, and for sure playing against AFC. We have I think a good game playing my first game as a head coach on the bench against AFC, but I think this game is going to be other history. We have other players, they have other players, the performance of the players are being different, so yeah. I think it's going to be a good match.
Yeah, this is a very spirit-wise, very different team than the one that was playing back then, mainly due to some of the injuries to prominent players. Can you kind of take us through the summer to now of how you've had to adjust the roster, specifically with losses like Croy Bethune and Andy Sullivan?
Yeah, I think we have important players missing the last weeks, the last games, but I was always speaking about that with the players, about the importance of the group. From my arrival, I always consider that everyone must be available to play and compete, and you need to be close of them, especially with the players maybe they are not playing so many minutes. You have to be close from them because you never know if you are going to need them. And I think in terms of preparation, tactical and mental preparation, all the team always has been ready. And for me, it's an important point because right now, the last games, all the players that are starting, they are performing very well. That is not lucky. That's because they are doing a good job, especially in the last week. So I'm very happy because the performance has been good. We are deserving winning games. And now, having available more players is going to be very important in the way that we are getting what the most important part of the season. So, as I always say, the team is over the individual performance of the player, and now we are in a good shape.
Can you talk specifically about the midfield? Obviously, losing Croy, who had set up so many goals and was a big part of the scoring, and then Andy, who was such a steadying force there. What the adjustment was like and how the players that have replaced them have performed in that specific part of the field.
Yeah, we modify a little bit the shape. Right now we are playing with Hal, Heather, and Courtney, and they are very smart players in attacking and also defending. Because in terms of attacking, when Andy was playing, we have a double holding midfielder with Andy and Hal. But I think Heather and Courtney, they have other different profiles. They can play two different heights. So we are adapting a little bit, which are the characteristics of them, and also defending. I think we are improving a lot, especially out of possession when we are pressing high. The last game, for example, against North Carolina, we got a lot of balls in the other half pitch, and that's a good news. In the end, what I have to do is adjust the characteristics of the players to make sure that everything what we are asking them is being in the right direction, and then other positions too. But I think especially in the midfielder, we have big changes in the last game.
How important was it to you to continue winning down the stretch while you managed the lineup with all the various injuries, as opposed to just getting healthy and getting set for the playoffs?
It's when you win always, that's about win or lose. When you win always is everyone is happier, everything is good. But as I always like to say, for me, the most important moments are when you are losing or when you are losing players. And I think against Orlando, after losing the game, I think we did a good game there, but we had an important injury there also. And after losing the game 2-0, everything what we were doing in terms of team and what we are building around the players about the team is being much bigger. And all the performance that we were showing in the last games and deserving, especially all victories that we are getting, I think for me as a coach, for me that means a lot. And right now, understanding that other players are coming, train is getting better every game. Rose, we hope that we can win this game to be available for the next game. Lacey Santos is coming too. So we have other important players that they are ready to play and ready also to help the team. It's a very positive news. But as I always say, we need to think about training session, have a good rest, enjoy the week, but not think a lot about the next game. Is keep doing the same things that we were doing the last weeks.
All right, so tell me a little bit about Bay FC. As we talked about earlier, it was a while ago since you played them. They do have a very efficient forward attack. Very dangerous players up front. How are you thinking about them this weekend?
I think we were playing out of games against top striker. We played against Sophia Smith, against Chawinga, against other ones. This league is crazy in terms of attackers, Barbara Banda, and I think we are prepared. We had a good learning the last game that we played, especially against Portland, against Kansas, and also against Orlando. And I think we know how we have to face the game to avoid that they can exploit the characteristics, because they have powerful players in the last line with Osoala and Kundaranji especially. And it's gonna be other game. I think it's not a new situation for the players. They know how we have to manage this situation. So I think it will be part of the leg. It's gonna be here. If we can manage them in the right direction, we are going to have more chances to win.
Very excited to see you all play this weekend, Sunday at Audi Field against Bay FC as the playoffs begin in the NWSL. It's the quarterfinals. Coach, good luck this weekend. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I hope you enjoy the game.